legs, if you often go to the same side, adjust the flesh of the buttocks out so you feel the sitting bones evenly down. Taking this time to really ground down through our foundation, content the fingertips and allow the spine to lift up from the base of the spine. Really feel the lower back lengthen, not to take out your natural curve in the spine, but just elongating the spine, feel it grow from the base up as we plant and the sitting bones down, the legs releasing down. And let the eyes angle down, maybe 3 or 4 feet in front of you, kind of finding a spot. And then let the eyes soften, the face relax, almost as if the face was receding back in the skull, the sense organs moving inward. Create some space at the armpit. The front shoulder bone moving back, shoulder blades moving in. And let the hands come to the top of the legs. And if it feels comfortable for you, you can let the eyelids close, the top eyelid releasing down to the bottom. These few moments to experience the breath with the eyes closed. We connect to the earth, to our surroundings, and to ourselves. Even envision a really large leaf, the veins, so that our spine is like that spine of the leaf running center, the ribs, like the veins coming off that center line of the leaf, expanding outward. Feel where the sides of your body are, that outer edge of your body. And then become aware. The movement of the lungs with the breath, the feeling. In the head, as you relax the brain, the eyes, the tongue. Take a few moments to let the chin release to the chest, the hands to the heart. Setting an intention for our practice, to be mindful of how we tread on the earth, our impact. Gratitude for the benefits we receive from the earth and all the elements. And that connection, it brings us to others, all beings. And as we relax the hands and slowly open the eyes and lift the head, and then just gently unroll the shoulders. Let's change the cross of the legs just briefly. Again, keep that lift through the spine, the openness through the rib cage. You can again bring the hands back to the heart, interlace the fingers, and we'll extend the palms and reach up. Feel that stretch. Now, not just along the spine, but through the sides. And just gently go over to one side. We're kind of bending here, not just falling and collapsing, but that ability to move to the side, come back to center, over to the other side, and come back. And then we'll change the interlace of the fingers. We extend the palms. And stretch up once more. Lift and lengthen up. As the back releases down, the skin muscles of the back release down. Face and throat relaxed. Exhale. You go over to the side. Try and keep that left arm extending as much as the right. Coming back. And then once more over. You know, like the trees, especially today where I am, kind of blowing, that ability to be able to go over and come back without breaking, and then we'll release. Okay. Let's come off of the height we're on, and we'll come down to the floor. Now, instead of the blocks, you might need a little bit of a blanket, something softer. We'll come down onto our abdomen, okay? So coming down onto the abdomen, lengthen through the top of the leg to the top of the foot. Move the tailbone down and really try to minimize that space for right now at the top of the thigh, the front hip flexor here, okay? Then open the legs out a little bit, spread the arms, really feel that stretch. We don't often, lie down prone, so just really feel the earth below you through the palms. Rest the head, so here you might need that little bit of blanket to rest your head. With that stretch to the spine. To the arms, to the legs. Keeping that length. Just bend the elbows, bring the hands to the sides. Keep the feet wider than the hips, the hands to the sides. We'll inhale and come up just slowly, just as far as you can. I know it's quite early, not to overdo it on the spine, but just to lift the heart. Okay, so the heart lifting as the spine elongates, the shoulder blades move in, and look up slightly. Exhale. This time as you release down, you can turn the head to one side. Again, keep lengthening from that top thigh to the top of the foot. As much as we can, stay centered on the foot. I know they tend to roll in a little bit, so centering, tailbone down, that anchor. We bring the arms in, so let's stretch the arms up, bring the arms in. Inhale, lengthen from the base of the spine, but the front of the spine lifting, the upper back muscles releasing down. Exhale, we'll lower, look to the other side. Then bring the legs in more hip width apart. And they don't have to be quite together, but just more hip width apart. We'll stretch the arms, so now the chest is lifted a little bit. Keep as if you want to pull yourself forward. Okay, so I'm planting the palms, almost suctioning, and then almost like I'm trying to pull, to lift up. If you can, let the arms lift up. Bring the elbows back a few times so we can extend. Helping to strengthen our spine. And elongate, not to compress in the vertebra, but really stretch. And then we'll bring the arms back down. You can cross the forearms, let the forehead rest for a few breaths. From here, we're going to bend one knee up, okay? So I'll just bend my left leg, but you can decide which is best, whatever angle you are in your room right now. I'm bending my left knee up. So here is where you might find you need a little bit of padding under the knee, okay? To get this hip to come under, the buttock to come under. So we don't want the knee going down and the buttock sticking up really high. Okay, so we could bring a blanket under to really lengthen that inner groin to the inner knee and to drop as much as we can that left hip down. And then we're turning almost a little bit away from that bent knee side, revolving away from that bent knee side. You can turn the head even. Try and move the knee out any amount that you can so your blanket may be able to slide a little bit to really stretch that inner groin area. Right, the buttock coming under. And then we'll come back. You might slide the knee in a little bit and then stretch that leg back. And then of course we'll repeat that to the other side. So I'm bending now. I'm gonna move over a little bit, the right knee, up. You can stay up just a little bit higher here till you get the knee up. Elongate from the top of the thigh to the top of the foot on the straight leg. Try and stretch the knee out, not just from the knee, but really lengthen from that inner groin to the inner knee. And one side can feel quite different than the other, so be mindful. It won't necessarily always be the same. Move that buttock under, let that hip move down. So we don't want the hip sticking up, right? We want that hip to move under and elongate. You can keep up on the elbows. You could go down a bit lower, turn, revolve away from that bent knee side. Let the hip come down. Really focus the breath to that inner groin, elongating. And then we'll come back and stretch that leg back. Again, deflate top of the thighs to top of the knees, extend the feet. Maybe feel a difference now here in the hip, the groin area. Then from here, we're going to roll onto one side, okay? Let the arms stretch out. If you're working with some shoulder issues, bring the arm in front. You could use your blanket to support the head, okay? If you're able to keep that arm extending, so again, we want to minimize that space between the armpit and the floor. We're connecting to the earth, down the side of the body, the leg to the foot. Stay here for a few breaths, really trying to press out through the feet, extend through that arm. Bend then the elbow, bring the hand just behind the ear. Try and stay balanced here on the side body. Now, if you can, we're going to bend that top leg, okay? So think of the last pose we just did. I don't want the knee to come forward, but we want to try to open up through that inner leg. We often, do this pose, we put the foot on the inner thigh so we could start that way, okay? Pressing down, moving the buttock under, elongating inner groin to inner knee, trying to move the knee back as much as you can. Maintain that as we bring the knee towards the chest. Here, if you can, you can take the toes and start to stretch up. So we could call this our fallen tree pose here. But feel the connection to the ground. You have to almost press down to lift up. Try not to roll forward or back. And release the leg. We'll slowly come down. Release the arm. Bring that top knee forward. And here again, if you find that's too far of a drop down, where your back or hip, use the blanket under the knee. Start to roll back a little bit. So the knee will lift up, roll back a little bit. And now we're going to see if we can let that knee go out. So we're going to go back to the pose we had just done lying prone. So I'm going to let that knee now slide out and see if I can roll onto the abdomen, opening up through that groin, keeping the buttock rolling under. Front lower ribs, you might need to lift up. And then we'll come back. We'll repeat that to the other side. So you could swing around to the other side. Let's start on the side, extend the arm, unless you're again working any shoulder issues, neck issues, and it's better for you to have the arm coming in front. You can rest the head, whatever height you need. So you extend the arms, extend through the side body. Really notice if you're leaning forward or back, if you can be right on that outer hip. Keeping that length, minimize that space, the armpit to the floor, right? Then maintaining that upper arm to the floor, bend the elbow, hand behind the ear. We elongate. We'll bend the top knee, and let's just start with the knee, kind of more 90 degree, trying to move that buttock under. Then place the foot on the inner thigh. Press down as if you were standing on that bottom leg. Lengthen that inner leg to inner knee, buttock coming under. Staying as balanced as we can on the side body. And feel that connection to the earth. And from there, the knee coming up towards the ear. If you can, holding the toes and extending up. You're not able to, take the toes or you feel really off balance, stay either with the foot to the inner thigh or just at that 90 degree angle. We extend up, explore how pushing down with that body into the earth, you can stretch the top leg up. Outer hip moving under. And then we'll release the leg as we come back down. We'll bend the front knee in front. So again, place the blanket there if you need. And we can release the arm. And then we're going to try and let that knee slide. So going back to that first pose where we were prone, the knee slide, that buttock coming under, elongate to the side, coming back onto our abdomen. Keep trying to roll that inner thigh around, okay? And then we can slide back, bring the legs together, bring the knees to the chest. We'll press to come up. If we come up, we'll just extend the legs to Dandasana. And from here, we're going to bend the knees and open the legs out. So we're still working that inner leg to inner knee, outer knee pulling back. Bring the hands behind, try to lengthen through the inner leg to inner knee. Can bring the soles of the feet then together. Lifting up, open the chest, roll the shoulders back. You can come forward without just falling in at the waist, okay? Top of the sacrum moves in, head, chest, kind of lifting up. Can bring the hands to the feet or ankles. If your knees are quite high up, just gently try to elongate still, inner thigh to inner knee, down. Not trying to push the knees down, but we're lengthening that inner leg. And then we'll release. You can bring the outer legs in. We'll turn to the other end of the mat. Sometimes it's good to, just come at a different direction. Hands to the end. We'll stretch the legs back, tuck the toes under. So if you have a blanket there, you might move the blanket. From here, we'll lift up into downward facing dog pose. Separate your feet the width of your mat. Okay. Just like when we were lying prone, we had opened the legs out wider. Bring the feet to that outer edge of the mat. Feel that front inner leg move back. Feel the stretch through the sides, through the arms. Feel the outer hips move in as you lift up. We'll step the feet back hip width and walk the hands back towards the feet. Keep the knees bent for a few breaths. You can hang here, let the spine elongate. Then bring the hands to the hips or just parallel arms parallel to the floor by the hips. As you look down to the floor, feel like the tailbone's moving under and you're being lifted up by the sternum on the in-breath to come up to mountain pose. So in mountain pose, right, you're a mountain. You're firm, stable. Feel the stability in the legs, through the spine, up through the crown of the head. And don't mistake that stability for being rigid. As you find that inner strength through your frame, feel how the skin, the muscle moves with the breath. Explore the expansion of your chest through the stability of your body. And then we'll release. Let's move that blanket off of our mat. Let's do a few standing poses that really help to ground, not just ground us physically, but feel connected, balance the brain, the breath. So from, again, our mountain pose, feet can be together. It's better for your knees hip back, slightly apart. And let's go inhale and extend the arms up. Okay, really wrap those outer arms in. Elongate up, let the elbows lift, fingertips lift as you press the feet down, even bend the knees here a little bit. As you bend the knees, what often happens is we kind of fall into the back. As you bend the knees, move the tailbone down, let this lower abdomen lift up. We'll come into a fierce pose. We often call also chair pose, Utkatasana. Okay? Bring that fierceness in, and we can think of like fire element, right? And then we'll extend back up, let the arms release down. Then we'll repeat that a few times. Okay, we'll go a little bit quicker. So from Tadasana, you can inhale and extend up. Exhale, bend the knees. Looking up if you can, palms together. Move the tailbone under, sit down any amount lower. And then we'll inhale, come back up and release. Once more, inhale, exhale, feel even through the feet. Watch where your weight tends to go when you start shifting in the body. See that you're not on more than one foot than the other. We'll inhale, come up and release. Okay. Now let's from here, extend the arms out to the sides, bend the knees, fingertips together. Step or jump the feet apart. You're opening up. Begin to feel that space, that expansion. Cut the left foot in slightly, right leg out. And then come back to that feeling when we were on the floor. Okay, we're moving that right buttock under, bending the front knee. So just like we were down on the floor, we don't want this hip, okay? We don't want the hip to really go out. Bring that hip in. Think how we work to stretch that inner leg. That knee that was sliding on the floor to lengthen the inner leg. Okay? Outer knee moving back, front hip moving under. Looking over the front fingers. Draw the eyes back. Begin to really see from like a higher viewpoint, just like when we're on top of a hill, we can see a wider distance. We can see things differently than when we're close up. So begin to draw back. Begin to see things from a different perspective. We'll come back up and bring the hands to the hips for a moment. Turn that front foot in. The right foot turning in. Other leg out. So as we cut that inner leg out, lift the front hip bones up. Bring that feeling back that when you were lying on your abdomen, and then how we were trying to slide from that inner leg out as you bend the front knee. That hip coming under, buttock under, the spine lengthening. You can extend the arms, the shoulders release. Let that sitting bone move down. The shoulders release. Envision the arms extending all around the earth to touch on the other side. And then we can turn the head, looking over the front fingers. Again, let the eyes draw back to the back of the skull. Gaining that ability to see things from a different viewpoint. And then we'll inhale, come back, and turn the foot in. You may need to heel toe in. You can step or jump back to our mountain pose. So you come back, feel again that sensation within. Stability. And the movement of the rib cage with your breath. Do one last standing pose, Vriksasana, which is tree pose. To feel grounded through the roots of the feet, and then that expansion, the leaves out. So we'll balance first. So here, if you need a chair for balance or the wall, you can come to one or the other. You can have a chair or wall for some support if you feel you might be off balance. Shift the weight into one foot, and then bring the other foot, just turn the inner leg out. Okay. So we're still getting that same action, buttock coming under. Watch that the standing leg hip doesn't start to stick out, but move that outer hip in, and then see if you can bring the foot to the calf. Maybe the knee, slide it up as high to the inner thigh as you can. So if you think when we were lying on our side and I said to bring that knee up towards you, see if you can bring that knee up. Roll the inner leg out. Try and then bring the foot in closer, up higher, on the inner thigh. Okay. If you feel like you go up higher, do you need some help? So lift the knee up, roll that buttock under, then you might take the hand to the shin, place the foot up a little bit higher, Vriksasana. Outer hips move in, lift and lengthen up. If you can, arms extending up, maybe palms together, but not at the expense of the lift in the spine and the upper back, okay? Keep lengthening up. So the palms together, the arms need to be straight to help lift and lengthen upwards. Eyes soft. Throat relaxed, jaw relaxed. A tree or mountain, they're not always in that state of, straining. So we have to learn to be here, softening the eyes. The throat. And then we can exhale, release down. readjust. If you're using the wall or chair, turn so that you can balance. Shifting the weight to the other leg, keeping that outer hip in. We'll turn the leg first, right? And it's the thigh bone in the hip socket. We're not just moving the knee out, the buttock, hip sticking out, right? Rotating the thigh bone in the hip socket. Foot maybe at the ankle, calf, the knee. Then we're trying to lift that knee up, keeping the inner leg rolling out, knee coming higher. See how we can maybe bring the foot to the inner thigh as high as you're able to. If you feel it could go a little bit higher with some help, lift that knee up, bring the foot up a little bit higher. Push the heel, inner outer heel. We tend to maybe go more to that outer heel. Push the inner heel as much as the outer heel. Not just moving the knee back, but you roll that inner leg out, buttock under. You can use the arms to help balance. Release the shoulders. And then maybe extending up. Those branches reaching up as the foot roots down. Lengthen evenly through the sides. Right? We've changed where our center of gravity is, going from 2 feet to 1. Right? So you have to readjust. And things are always changing, so we're always having to readjust, realign, reconnect. So find the softness in the breath. When we're hard, kind of in that state of being tense all the time, it's hard to be present, to be connected. So just let yourself be, knowing that things are always shifting, changing. We just pose and repose, readjust, realign with the breath. And then we'll slowly release back. Come into your mountain pose. Stay a few breaths. And then we'll release. We'll make our way back to the floor. So you might want to bring that blanket back. We make our way back down to the floor. We'll come onto our back. Come onto the elbows. Releasing down. Just stay a few moments with the knees bent. Really get the skin of the upper back sliding down towards the hips. I'm going to keep that blanket again, blanket or bolster for the outer hip. Okay. We come down. We'll hug one leg in towards the chest. Keep the bolster or blanket to the outer hip. Extend the other leg. You can hold either behind the thigh or the shin, and we're going to open the leg out to the side. So this blanket here has become like a wedge at that outer hip, so that when I kind of push down, you can feel it moving that buttock under and moving that outer hip in. We're again lengthening inner leg to inner knee. You can keep the leg out. Extend the arms up, so finding that same kind of tree pose shape. Press that outer leg into the blanket or bolster. Might even be a block, almost like you're trying to lift the hip up off the floor. You might feel the skin, the flesh still on the floor, but the bone able to lift up and move into the body. And then we'll release, take the hand back, bring the leg up, hold here for a few breaths. If you need to, any knee issues, hang on to the back of the leg. And you might even be able to extend that leg up. You could hold the back of the thigh, extend the leg. Releasing the leg, you can either bend the knee, foot to the floor and extend, or keeping the leg straight, slowly lower that leg down. Stay a few breaths. Then bring the blanket or a bolster, block whatever you're using to the other hip. It's going to move to the side a bit. Bend both knees once more. Bring that other leg in towards the chest. You can hold the back of the knee if you need. Extend the other leg straight. Stay here a few breaths, and then holding either the shin or back of the leg, open the leg out to the side. That outer hip moves under to keep that space, right? Lengthen from the inner leg to inner knee. You might notice a difference in the mobility, one side to the other. We're working to keep that mobility in the hip, that range of motion moving in our hips. Not to get tight in the hips. So we can let the knee open out. If you feel you can, extend the arms up, and that will depend on your shoulders. If that's putting too much on the hip, help hold the leg if you need. But as you press that thigh bone into the blanket or whatever support you're using, see if you can lift the hip up off the floor. And again, the flesh might stay to the floor, but you could maybe feel the bone lifting away from the floor. Really cutting that buttock under. And then we can release. You can help bring the leg back up. Hold on the back of the leg. Extend. Extend through the backs of both legs. And to release that leg down, if you're able to, keep the leg long, straight, and slowly lower back to the floor. Take the blanket just onto the top of the legs. Readjust on your mat. Back of the head to the tailbone, extending the legs. Stretch out through the heels. You can move the shoulders under, tailbone towards the heels. So now we're lying supine. So feel, we're lying prone. I think I mixed up my prone and supine. We're lying on our back in a relaxed state here, but press out through the heels. Feel that you're in your mountain pose with the back body supported. Feel that you can move the shoulders back, spread the back. So we don't just want length to the spine, we want to spread through the back, upper back to the outer corners of the waist. Let the heels stretch away as the crown of the head moves in the opposite direction. Then let the legs release. Bend the elbows and turn the palms to face you. Move one shoulder blade in at a time. And then let the elbows kind of extend, the palms facing up. Release to the earth. Envision becoming part of the earth. That sense of letting go of our small self, and the labels that we attach to ourselves, let those dissolve. Now each new breath, just clear away old thoughts, tension, strain, stress. But bringing with it that renewed energy. Talk about renewable energy. We're able to create that within with each breath. Increase our capacity, be mindful, compassionate. Just bringing a joyfulness or contentment that we can feel that at this moment, everything is all right in our world. And just slowly begin to move the fingers and toes, arms and legs, shoulders to the hips. We bend the elbows, the knees. Using the right arm as a bit of a pillow, you can roll to the right, draw the knees up towards you, release the back. Roll towards the floor. We can inhale and press to come up to sitting. The hands to the heart, the chin to the chest. We continue to surrender the ego to the heart, allowing speech, actions, thoughts to come from the heart, through the heart, be done with the heart.